Hello there. So I've just today finished watching Euphoria season three. So this will be my review of the series. First part will be just my general opinion of the show. There'll be some spoilers later on. So once we go into spoilers, there'll be fair warning for that before we go into spoilers. So yeah, overall. But firstly, I've only just recently all caught up in the whole Euphoria thing because, I know it's been a popular show for a number of years. But I started watching it just before the third season debuted because I've got like a Now TV account thing, so it's got like Sky Atlantic and HBO Max which is now part of it. So I started watching it. I was kind of like, yeah, well, let's see what this is all about. And I've been quite late to the party with this one, so I've watched all the seasons and things like that. And I know it was like critically acclaimed and everything like that beforehand, but the third season seems to have been massively critically mauled, and even the audience scores are a lot lower. Although I think the ratings are still doing well for it. But I will say this: I enjoyed this season for the most part. It has its flaws, quite big flaws, but overall, I enjoyed it. And I will say this: like some of the stuff that people are complaining about, the third season did seem to go really massively into ridiculousness, which is probably why a lot of people are just like, well, this is too much. But see, the trashier it was, the more enjoyable I found it, to be honest. For the most part, there's actually some really good emotional parts, especially in the finale, but we'll get to that. But yeah, some of this stuff, I know a lot of it for this generation. It's all meme worthy and everything like that. Some of this stuff. By the time I got around to actually watching the episodes and things, I'd seen a lot of the stuff that was going viral and everything like that, and I was like, all right. Then you see it in the context of the show. it, it, it had an element of so bad it was good to a certain degree this season, and I like the first two seasons as well, well enough. And I'm not one of these mega hardcore fans. I get it if you were kind of like a mega hardcore fan who loved the first two seasons, watched it religiously whenever as soon as they came out. But now it's like, to me, it was just like, if you actually do the third season and it just turns into a complete car crash fest, you're like, all right, okay. You'd be like, what happened to my show? But I was kind of like, so I didn't have that investment. I was just kind of like, this is stupid as fuck, but I'm actually kind of enjoying it. I'm entertained by it. So overall, nothing great. I seem to have liked this third season more than the hardcore fans and the critics and everything like did. But that's just me, I suppose. We'll go into some spoilers here. So, if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert in our time here. So, one of the things they've done here, which, of course, this was common knowledge as well before it was even the third season started broadcasting, was that they took Sydney Sweeney's character Cassie and made her an OnlyFans star. And I'm laughing even before I start talking about it. And I'm like thinking to myself, that is actually quite clever. As silly as this show and as over the top as it is, that's actually quite a clever thing to do. It suits the character. It suits the public persona, shall we say, of Sydney Sweeney. And I'm saying this as somebody who actually quite likes Sydney Sweeney. I think she's a better actress than people give her credit for. And I do think a lot of the time on the right and on the left, it's like somebody says something you don't like in an interview, right? I hate them. They can go away forever. It works both sides. And I've mentioned this before, the right and the left are very much a lot alike, whether they want to admit it or not. But, whatever. As I've said before, politics is politics. So, I think there's been a lot of the stuff they've said about Sydney Sweeney has just been ridiculous. I mean, the good genes thing, I've covered this before and other things, but I'm just like, Jesus, it's a pun for an advert, fuck's sake. Get over it. But, but I do think having her be OnlyFans thing was actually like an OnlyFans character and things like that. That actually was quite clever that they did that. Now, whether it was because of certain personas or certain perceptions they did it, or they were always planning this all along, they could have been because it actually would have suited her character. But you know, certain things, a lot of the stuff that went viral as well, like we're dressing up as the dog. It's like this is so ridiculous. It's unbelievable. But and then even that was kind and then you've got her like dressed as the baby as well. It's like with the diaper on her nappy, as we call it in the UK, but diaper as it's mostly commonly known in the US and things. It's like I'm just saying. I think Olivia Rodrigo would have loved that. I'm just saying. Don't give her any ideas because Olivia Rodrigo does look at love a lot. Does love a lot of plagiarism, so she loves a good plagiarism. So don't give her any ideas with that one. But anyway, moving on. But honestly, that was so ridiculous. And there's been many a ridiculous moment in this series. There was like one of the ones. It's like one of the episodes. It was like when the Zendaya character Rue gets buried alive up to her neck, buried alive, and then the guy is about to come and wallop her head off or whatever. It's just it's so ridiculous, but it's entertaining. It's like I can't not be not entertained by all this nonsense as well. Um, the other thing is, we get to like was it the penultimate episode as well, the second to last episode. You've even got speaking of Sydney Sweeney, you've got the Armenian guy who like breaks into her house and like literally does a wrestling choke slam through the table. Through the last table, just picks her up and then absolutely slams her through the table. She's absolutely not clean out, and then it starts dragging her along the floor, but dragging her along the floor with broken glass. But there's not a drop of blood as well after that. So make of that what you will. It's very realistic, this show, in that sense, and yet there's an almost certain yin and yang with this because as well. And I'll go. Well, I'm speaking about this penultimate episode. I heard about this before I'd ended up seeing it, but the Jacob Elordi's character Nate, who ends up getting killed as well, dies in the penultimate episode. She was like there was the whole, even going back like earlier in the season, the whole episode, sorry, the whole wedding with him and Cassie, Sydney Sweeney's character. It was just, that was just absolute soap opera nonsense, but it was entertaining, to be fair. You've got as well. He gets like people that he owes money to and things. He gets buried alive, and there's this little hole that they're basically trying to dehydrate him to death. But then this snake like crawls in the hole and basically finishes him off. It's ridiculous, but it's entertaining. This almost has an element of Babylon as well. It's funny enough when you've got like Margot Robbie's character like Nellie, that was like, "Who wants to see me fight a fucking snake?" I don't know. Just reminded me of that for some strange fucking reason. I don't know why. But yeah, there's that. But the other thing I would say that there are some actually more somber moments because, of course, as well, I've seen in the second, I think it was the second season, there was this one episode that was basically like Zendaya's character Rue talking with Common Domingo's character. Most of the episodes just them in a diner, like talking about addiction and things like that, which actually was really quite powerful and hard hitting. So, but now this thing has turned into absolute high camp. Is by the time we get to this, but it's almost a weird, strange juxtaposition because we've got as well, of course. Again, we're in spoiler talks here. Is like and Rue's Zendaya's character Rue does end up passing away, and it's actually really hard hitting as well. I'm talking about all the silliness and the high camp of it, but that actually is genuinely quite hard hitting. And then Coleman Domingo's character, I can't remember the character's name, he does that when he's in his group, and he does this absolutely brilliant, heartbreaking monologue as well. And this is in the finale, the last episode. And there's still about an hour ago, or about 45 minutes to go in the episode as well. It's kind of like, and then there's a lot of like time dragging going on because the last episode is nearly an hour and a half. It's like an hour and 25 minutes. I get making your last episode a bit longer, and it was typically an hour or just under an hour for each episode, but that was too much. Like it just dragged, and it did kind of bring. You had this incredible hard hitting moment, hard hitting scene, hard hitting situation that happened, and of course, Colin Domingo's Uh, like I said, Coleman Domingo's monologue was phenomenal. And then we get to the last, nothing happens for about 20, 25 minutes. And then, of course, you got the shootout with all that, with the dealer and everything like that, which actually is effective. And then he meets with a family and things. Stuff like that is effective, but the uh, the finale was way too long. Bit rich coming for me because I'm dragging on way too long here, but whatever. Just making the point. So overall, I get why people wouldn't like this third season of this show, but I quite enjoyed it. I have to admit, I was entertained by it, and I must admit, mostly the more ridiculous it was, the better. But I do think Coleman Domingo's, like I said, no, not sound like a broken record or anything, but the Coleman Domingo's character monologue was just outstanding. Great actor. So anyway, that's just my thoughts. Thanks for taking the time to listen, and goodbye.